Good morning, Wigan. How are you? Yeah, an amazing story of what God does with our faithfulness. And I encourage you to take that home, read it, as Siobhan and Rach shared before. Read it in terms of what we did last year and some of the great highlights, but also what we plan to do this year and go in the grace of God. Today, we're going to carry on our series called Move. We believe this is a word in season for us, particularly this year, that we are moving with the presence of God with us. And last week, I spoke about get up and go. And everybody remember that? Do you remember when I asked you to turn to someone and say, sit down, but get up and go? Do you remember that? Okay, well, let's do that again. Turn to someone and say, stay sat down. Come on, we can do better than that, Wigan. Turn to that person and tell them, stay sat down. But tell them, but make sure you get up and go. Today, we're going to move on in the story of the Israelites in the Old Testament in the Bible. And this is the bit now where God moves the people of God out of slavery and begins the journey. And today I want to talk to you about cloud and fire. In fact, the next 2 weeks I want to talk to you about cloud and fire. What is the nature of God's presence and how do we follow him? Even if you're not even sure about God, even if you're new here at this church community or you've been here for a long, long time, how do we follow where God is leading us? And I would like us to turn to the book of Exodus. Why don't we get our Bibles out? Come on, join me. The book of Exodus. Get it up on your phone. The book of Exodus, chapter 13. The book of Exodus is basically a journey book, how the people of God journey from one place to the next. And it's Exodus chapter 13. And I've asked a special person to come and read it to us, and it's Shalom. Why don't you come up, Shalom, and read this? So come on, why don't you celebrate Shalom? She's such a fantastic young girl. Stage management, and you're reading the scriptures. Read this to us, okay? Follow along as she reads. This is Exodus chapter 13, verses 17. Thank you.
When Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them by the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For God said, lest the people change their minds when they see war and return to Egypt. But God led the people around by the way of the wilderness toward the Red Sea. And the people of Israel went up out of the land of Egypt, equipped for battle. Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for Joseph had made the sons of Israel solemnly swear, saying, God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones with you from here. And they moved on from Succoth and encamped to Etham, on the edge of the wilderness. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead them along the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, that they might travel by day and by night. The pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night did not depart from before the people.
Love it. Thank you, Shalom. Fantastic. So God took them out, and what he did was he didn't lead them the normal way. He led them a different way to the edge of a wilderness. Yippee, can't wait for that chapter to come. And God led them there, and what he did was he put his presence in a cloud in front of them that would move in the direction God wanted them to go. This is the story, and that's in the daytime, but you can't really see fog at night because there's no street lamps or anything. So God set up fire, pillar of fire by night, so that when God moved, even in the darkness, they could move. That's next week. I want to talk to you next week about how when you're in the darkness, how God's light leads you through to breakthrough. That's next week. So if you've got a friend who's anxious, depressed, if you're wondering how God is going to lead you through this challenging season, come back next week, and then someone, I'm sure, will have all the answers. Okay, so that's next week. 3 things I want to tell you today about this story is, number 1, God knows the way. God knows the way for you this year. If we go back to the story, Exodus 13, verses 17, it said, when Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them by the way of the land of Philistines. He didn't lead them that way. Although it was near, for God said, lest the people change their minds, they might see war and return to Egypt. So there's 2 ways here. Either they were going to go by land and walk in a familiar direction to an enemy that they may have won against, may have fought against, the Philistines, the David and Goliath, that one, like Goliath, like, oh, you come with me with sticks, oh, you're still a little dog. That story is in the future, right? So the Philistines, they're not very friendly to the Israelites. So they knew they could either go by land and walk to the Philistines and engage with them in a fight, or they could go in the other direction and end up in front of a big sea. Now, I don't know about you, I don't think God wanted to repeat the whole Noah thing. Like, hey, Noah, build a big boat. Boaty McBoatface the first, right? I don't think Moses would have had the time to build a big boat and take these 800,000 Israelites with him across the sea. So in Moses' mind and the people's mind, it must have been confusing that God was leading them to a place where he had to do the impossible in order to get them to the other side. Rather than something that felt more familiar, something that felt more achievable and doable, walking by land but facing an enemy. And this is the point, my friend. Are you ready for this? Are you ready? God knows the battles that you should fight. Hear me when I say that. Because I'm like, hang on a sec, you've just said the Lord, baby Jesus is the hope and everything's going to be okay. Like, everything is going to be okay. But let me explain to you. Life is full of battles and fights. And that's just a fact. And whether you're in work, whether you're in your family life, I mean, sometimes it's even hard enough to gain control of the TV remote. That's a battle right there in itself. Are you with me? But God knows the right ones to fight. And it's God who decides where we should be going. He's the one that knows the right way. And God led them to a place of the impossible and away from the familiar. Why? Because he didn't want them to get so intimidated that they would return back to slavery. It was all a way for God to increase the faith and keep them focused on what he wanted for them. God knows the fights that you should fight this year. So, where is God leading you this year? Where is he leading you this year? What does he want you to do this year? What are the fights? What are the battles that he wants you to face and go in and conquer in the name of Jesus? And that doesn't need to be a big spiritual hyperbolic thing. It can be as simple as, I think God wants me to better my health this year. I think God's leading me to reconcile this relationship this year. Or it could be big. I believe God's calling me to change my career this year and become the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Anybody? Here's the thing, right? Is that wherever God is leading you, that's where you're meant to go. Even if it means going in unfamiliar territory. Even if it means going a different way. Even if it means going in a direction that you need him to do something that you don't know what he's going to do yet, but you need him to do something in order to get to the place where you need to go. And that leads me to my second point. God knows the way, but secondly, God goes before us. God goes before us. In this story, when we move a bit along to verse 20, it says this, and they moved on from Succoth and encamped to Etham. I think that's somewhere near Apley Bridge, but I'm not sure. On the edge of the wilderness. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead them along the way, and by night a pillar of fire to give them light, that they may travel by day and by night. God was going before them. Turn to someone and say, don't get ahead of yourself. Okay? Don't get ahead of yourself now. I ain't going anywhere if God's not telling me to go there. You know what I'm saying? Because God goes before us. In lockdown, we went for a walk. You know, on that walk you could take every day in lockdown. You're allowed one walk, weren't you, right? Some of us did like a meaningful 15, 20-minute walk. Some of us went for a walk for 5 hours up a local mountain and back, but technically that was still allowed. So we were going these walks, and if you remember, everything was overgrown because no one was working, and so the paths weren't clear. And I remember one day I was going for a walk, and my kids were a lot younger then, and so I would kind of be the snowplow, right? I would be the big, massive hunk of junk, right, in front of my family, steamrolling through this thicket of different things. And I remember, like, getting cuts on my legs. Guys, I was really suffered. Like, come on. Yeah, exactly. It was really hard on me. No, I'm joking. And I would snowplow through, and then I remember halfway through the walk, Eden, my eldest daughter, turned to me and said, "Oh, Daddy, you've got a cut on your leg." And I said, "Yeah, it's COVID." No, I didn't really. I said, "Yeah, it's that's a bit dark, that. I'm sorry, that went a bit sad. I'm sorry about that. We can joke about that now. Come on, it's been 5 years." And she said, "Oh, you cut your leg?" I went, "Yeah, it's because I'm moving them out the way so you don't get hurt." And she went, "Oh, right. I was waiting for this big, like, hug, like, Daddy, you're the best father. Thank you. You have not forsaken me." You know? That's what God does. God goes before and he clears the path for us. This cloud, whenever you see the cloud in the Bible, it represents God's presence. But more than that, God's guidance in a very tangible way. Have you ever stood in a fog? Have you ever stood in a fog? There was quite a few foggy days this week. Let me ask you a weird question, right? Have you ever tried to grab fog? Have you ever tried to grab it? Well, guess what? I have, right? And it doesn't work. And I try. This week I was in the valley here. It was pretty foggy, and I was trying to grab it, and I couldn't grab it. And then I realized that, wow, fog is something that you are in. It's not something that you can grab or hold. It's something that just surrounds you, and then when it's done, it moves on. You know, it arrives, and then when it's somehow done with the way science works, it moves on. And that's kind of like the presence of God. The presence of God isn't something that you can hold in your hand and control. It isn't something that you can grab down and harness as if it's some kind of lasso that makes you do magic. But no, the presence of God is something that's much bigger than us, that's slightly mysterious, that sometimes we find ourselves in that we don't have any control over. And our role as followers of God, and even if you're new in here, you are welcome on that journey as well. It is our responsibility to understand where that presence is moving. But it's always ahead. It's always in front. God's always leading us to a place. And that's good news for you this year. Because it means that the conflict that you're dealing with at work, God is going to go before you. So that when you get there and you hold yourself right, it's going to sort out. It means that the stuff you're looking at this year and the challenges in like family life or whatever it is for you, good news is that when God is leading the way, he is going before you. So God essentially is just waiting for you to catch up. You are essentially a northern rail train delayed. That's essentially what you are. God is waiting for you at the train stop. God is waiting for you to arrive because he's already doing something this year. We can take confidence in that today. We need not look at this year and worry about what it's going to be like because we know that God is for us. And when God is for us, who can be against us? Let remind you of what some Bible verses are. Let this stir your heart a moment. God goes before us. John 16:33, Jesus says, "In the world you might have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world." Isaiah 41 verse 10, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, because I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Should I carry on? Come on, egg me on this morning. Should I carry on? Okay, Philippians chapter 4, verse 6-7. "Don't be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God." And what's going to happen? "And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." Should I go on? I shall, because in Psalm chapter 34 verse 4 says this, "I sought the Lord and he answered me and he delivered me from all my fears." And check this out, in the book of Joshua chapter 1 verse 9 it says, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened. Do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." Come on, somebody. Can someone give God some glory in the house? He's going before us. So I don't stand here in trepidation about the future. Hey, I get anxious. I get worried. Lord knows I get that. But I know my God goes before me. And because he's going before me, he's saving me from all those nicks and all those scratches that seek to trip me up. My job is to follow his presence. As long as I'm in line with that, as long as I'm focused on that, as long as I'm behind him in his direction, you just watch what the promised land looks like. You just watch what God's got for you on the other side of this. It is powerful. So God leads the way, God goes before, and finally, I wanted to say this: God won't wait. God won't wait. Now you might think, isn't he the Prince of Peace? Isn't he patient and kind and good and all these wonderful things? Yes, he is, I get that, but, right, let me ask you a question, right? When God appears to Moses, right, he says to Moses, Moses, I want you to go into Egypt and free all the people, right? Let me ask you a question. How do you know Moses was the first guy God asked? You don't know. How do you know? How do you know I wasn't like the fifth guy who said yes to leading the church community? Or my forefather Dave before me, or Ray before. How do you know? Like, how do you know you're the first that God asked? You know, maybe not. But I would say this, is that when God speaks, we move. When God speaks, we move. You move, you go. We don't wait around for a million different signs and for a butterfly to land on our nose to make sure that it's Jesus speaking. No, when we feel God is leaning us, we get up and we go. And I have a friend of mine, Andy, who I'd like to read the next scripture. Shalom, would you get the microphone over to Andy? Thank you. And we're going to read from the book of Exodus. We read this last time, verse 31. It'll be on screen and Andy's going to read it to us. Thanks, Grandy.
Thanks, Ben. Then he summoned Moses and Aaron by night and said, Up, go out from among my people, both you and the people of Israel, and go. Serve the Lord as you have said. Take your flocks and your herds as you have said, and be gone, and bless me also. The Egyptians were urgent with the people to send them out of the land in haste. For they said, we shall all be dead. So the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading bowls being bound up in their cloaks on their shoulders.
Brilliant, thank you. So let me ask you a question, right? So the people took the dough before it was leavened. So was the bread baked and ready to go? No. Did they have everything that they needed? Sure, but was it like what? And this is the kind of image I had in my mind. Here, I've got a number of household items here, right? Basically what I did was I robbed IKEA last night, and I robbed a bunch of stuff. This is on the podcast. That was a joke, by the way, in case anybody wants to, right? And I've got, it's Henry Hoover. Who loves a good Henry Hoover? Classic, innit? Vintage. I've got, in fact, you know what? I need a bunch of volunteers. I can have like 10 volunteers. Come on, Jay, you're handsome. Come on, come up stage and grab something. Come on, I need some more volunteers. Connor, I'm looking at you. Come on, Paul, that's it. Come on, George. Anybody else? Come on, any females? Why don't you let the lads step up? Come on. Come on, Gigi. Anybody else? Come on, that's it. Come on. How many got? 2, 4, 6, 7. Just grab any item you want, that's fine. I need like 3 more. Someone from this section here, come on. You guys are normally the loudest, right? So come on. Anybody from this section? Brilliant. Thank you, Sarah. Come on, Jess, that's it. Surprised you didn't force Ben up. Like, come on, lad, get up. Yeah, come on, just grab a household item over here, right? That's the one. Great. And just, we'll just make a bit of space. That's it. How many have we got left? Here, give me that banana. Here. I need one more. Who can hold a banana? Anybody? Yeah. No, you can't have 2. You got to have 1 each. Got to share. Come on. Oh, here we go. No, Ben, you take. In fact, no, Ben, come on up. No, come on, young man. Come on. You grab that. There you go. And then, where's Ben? Has he gone down? Oh, has he gone down? Oh, it's okay. Leave it. It's fine. It's fine. Leave it. Right. Okay. What's your name?
Oh, Georgia.
Jay. Paul. Connor. George.
Kirsty. Lynn.
Jess. George. Sarah.
Give it up for our Israelites, guys. Right. So these guys, right, you're like the Israelites, right? And suddenly there's a big guy that runs in from the middle of nowhere and goes, guys, God spoke to me. He said, up and go. Let's go. right? Imagine that, because that essentially was the scene. Like someone kicked in the door and it was Moses with a big beard and say, let's go. And suddenly everyone, oh, okay. So everybody just grabbed things that were around them, right? So here we've got some kitchen roll, and here we've got my son's lunchbox, which has gone into, and we've got here, shake it. Does that sound full?
It does, not really.
No, it's not. It's half full, my friend. Trust me. I know. So a lot of them have gone. What have we got here? We've got Hoover. That's great. Yeah, great. Before electricity was invented. But let's stretch the narrative here, okay? It's just an illustration. We've got a dustpan and brush. That's great. I don't even know what that is. What is it? It's a tin opener and a bottle opener. Great. You've got a spoon. Well done, Lynn. That's going to serve you really well in the promised land. You've got a tray here. Great. You've got a banana. You can print it like a pew, pew, pew. Go on, do a little pew, pew. Brilliant. Come on. And then we've got another tray over here. So this essentially, guys, is what the Israelites look like, except times 100, 800,000. There's a bunch of people who God said, get up and go and get whatever you've got, right? And go to the promised land. So this is what I want you to do, right? We're going to do something a little bit different. If you could all come down to stage, walk down the thing, come down and huddle together, right? That's it. Come on. Down here. That's it. Well done. Connor, I feel like you got the short stick here, my friend, but just roll with it, okay? Gather together as if you're like an army, right? Go on. Like, you don't need to line up. All right, yeah, just gather in a little huddle. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it. Huddle together. That's it. And then face in this direction, yeah? Don't stand in a line. Like, gather around in a little huddle. That's it, yeah. And face that way, right? And what I want you to do is, in front of all these people, I want you to, like, make, the scariest, most frightening, like army cry. Okay, you ready? Like, just got to be really, just lean into your GCSE drama, guys. Just go for it, yeah? So you're gonna be really scared, right? Okay, get ready. If you've got kids with you, close their eyes, okay? It's gonna get plus 12 rating, okay? So be a scary army in 3, 2, 1. That was good, that. I like that. It was good, that. Faced against an army like the Egyptian might, right? Where you've got literally millions of people with chariots and horses and spears and all sorts of stuff and like gold-plated armor. Do you think this would have looked scary? No. Okay, let's try it again, right? So what I want you to do is, I want you to be like, really be scary, like really scary. You know what I mean? Like HMRC have just said you're not paying enough tax. I mean, that reaction, right? Like, right. So what I want you to do is, but when you do it, I want you to like march forward, like that to the other side of here, right? Yeah, like you got it. I love the fact that's trailing right now. That's really adding to the effect. Okay, so that's it. So I want you to be really scary, and then together as one, you should go, because that's what I assume. That's what scary looks like. Okay, again, it's going to be really scary, so watch out, everybody, especially you on the front row, Mark. Just be careful, mate, okay? Just watch out, all right? Here we go. You ready? So you got to be scary. March forward. 3, 2, 1. What do you think, guys? You weren't clapping then because you weren't scared, because they were. Because they saw all these people and were like, oh no, if I'm going to die today, I'm glad it's in a church. I'm so scared. Guys, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Do you know what? If you could just pop your stuff down over there in front of the table. Guys, that was a great analogy. What was my point of doing all that? Oh, yeah. Thanks, guys. Just here for the clickbait, you know what I mean? Do you know, the most scariest thing about you isn't what you hold in your hand, it's what you hold in your heart. That's the scariest thing about you. When God is in your life, the most intimidating thing to any enemy you face is not whether you're wangling a spoon around in the air or holding a banana going pew, 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 or carrying a Hoover. You know what I mean? The everyday normal of life is not that intimidating, but the God inside you is the one that parts the sea. He's the presence that makes a way in the wilderness. Now, here's what I declare over you today. that the bread, before it was leavened, before it started to become, bread, the dough, before it became bread, to me represents for each and every one of you this year, unfinished business. Where the stuff that you started in one season, God will bring to completion along the way in the next season. So here we are, a bunch of Israelites, a bunch of people, a bunch of Wiganers and wherever else you're from, grabbing the stuff around them, the banana half eaten, the can half opened, the Hoover half full, whatever it is, God is going to bring to completion what he started in the last season. But the power of it is this, is that we have to pick up the unfinished business. We have to pick up the things that we're halfway done on. We have to pick up the things that are around us that don't seem like they're enough to get us where we need to go, enough to get us where we want to go. But it is the power of God inside of us. It is the one we hold in our hearts. God is the one that is leading us, and he's the one that is going before us. And I won't waiting for every bit of dough to turn into bread, for everything to be rosy and right. Instead, I am going to get up. I'm going to grab my unfinished business. I'm going to grab all the normal things around me, and I'm going to go, okay, here we go. And I'm following God to where he's leading me. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what those things are. It doesn't matter the big or the small. It is our responsibility to follow the presence of God with whatever we've got. And in his power, he will do what he needs to do that he knows that we can't. Finally, one last scripture. The book of Deuteronomy, which if you're dyslexic, is like the worst book ever to find. But it's true. Deuteronomy chapter 20. Shalom, where are you, gal? Oh, you're over there already? Great. Do you want to go to Joy? Would you read this? And this verse is Deuteronomy chapter 20, verses 1 to 4. And this is what the prayer team, if you didn't know, we have a prayer team. You register your interest at the hub and that pray over each and every one of us and your family and all the stuff that you're going through, the requests that you put in. And so they had this word for us that is so bang on. So Joy, would you read that? Deuteronomy 20, verses 1 to 4.
When you go out to war against your enemies and see horses and chariots and an army larger than your own, you shall not be afraid of them. For the Lord your God is with you, who brought you out of the land of Egypt. And when you draw near to the battle, the priest will come forward and speak to the people and shall say to them, Hear, O Israel, today you are drawing near the battle against your enemies. Let not your heart faint. Do not fear or panic or be in dread of them. For the Lord your God is he who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies and to give you the victory.
Come on, read verse 4 again. Just read verse 4 again really quick.
Do not fear or panic or be in dread of them. For the Lord your God is he who goes with you.
Yes.
To fight for you against your enemies and to give you the victory.
Does that sound like a God who's going to lead you to a place and leave you high and dry? Does that sound like a God to you that only has half of what you need in order to break through into the promised land? Come on, join me this morning, Wigan. I'm trying to raise your faith this year. I'm not doing last year again. I'm not even doing last week again. How it's been absolutely Baltic. Instead, I'm hoping and believing in this word that when I step forward, when I follow God's presence in my life, it isn't just me that's fighting. It's not just me that's fighting for my family. It's not just me that's fighting for this church. It's not just me that's fighting for all the things God has for me in my life. But God is with me and he is for me. And if he is for me, who can be against me?